So what we're looking at right here is these contour lines. You see it goes into this main point. And what you're going to have is deep water that's relatively close to the shoreline here that meets up on this point. That's where we're going to start off this morning, doing some topwater fishing. Throw some topwater plugs in there, maybe some spinner baits. It's a real typical summertime feeding area for largemouth and smallmouth. So it can be a mixed bag. That's our game plan. Starting in the dark.
When I'm interpreting what's on the sonar and trying to pick out the spots, the likely spots where I think the fish are going to be holding, one of the things I'm looking for is a really thin red line on my sonar unit. That indicates a super hard bottom. You can see here we're starting to get a double echo read. And that indicates that you're on a hard bottom. It's either really hard rock or...
You got a fish sitting right there?
Yep, you can see fish there. There's a little fish sitting right there. So, and you got your point that's starting to come up now. So we're going to start right on the outside edge of this point, throw some top water, and see what we can get into. If those are bass or not, but there's definitely fish using this point, that's for sure. You can see them scattered all over it. So we're just going to kind of work up towards the dock and then sort of work our baits out a little bit deeper as we work along here and see if we can intercept them along the way.
How about that first cast, huh? There's our first Lake Stevens smallmouth, and I want to safely say that all those little markings that you saw there are all dinks, but
fish on.
Fish on, gosh.
With the hot temperatures that we've been having over the last week or so, you'd have to assume that early morning is going to be when your best bite is, and there's really no better way to fish for them than a topwater bait, especially when you've got a point with clearly there's bait fish spread all over it. So if these fish are feeding, they ought to be right up on here. Dez is going to clear out the little ones for us, so
yeah, I'm all
I
over
can hook into a big one.
What I typically like to do on my topwater and jerk baits is tie what's called the Rapala loop knot. And as you can see on the end of my line here, I have this loop that actually feeds through the eye of my bait there. And what I do is I remove the split ring off of there and replace it with that loop, because what it does is that bait sits in the water, it has more opportunity to I'm sorry, my alarm clock's going off. It's time for me to go to work, by the way. And what it does there, it takes off the weight that ring creates and also replaces it with a more natural effect. As it sits on the top of the water, it has more room to move around that big loop up there. It's a real good tip there for your jerk baits and topwater baits. Gives you more action, makes it a little bit more realistic.
What you're looking at there is a classic example of an offshore hump. That's probably a big boulder or maybe a series of rocks, but it looks to me like it's a pretty consistent mass. So I'm gonna guess that's just a big boulder, a big rock pile that we're just going over right now. Really classic summertime deep cranking pattern. When you hear people talk about that, this is one of the pieces of structure that people are looking for. You can see there's fish actually sitting right up on top of it as well. A little bit deeper than we want to fish right now, but that might be a good spot to check out a little bit later. I'll put a waypoint on it just so we can go back to it.
All right, Mike's got the first
First nice
keeper
fish of the day.
See here, Dave's coming over with the net. That's a pretty good one right there. That'll work out.
Not bad.
Yeah, nice. Good job, Mike. Way to start it off as usual.
Yeah. So we got this on a drop shot. Dave, let's talk for a moment about the conditions today, because it's been sort of a tough morning fishing, hasn't it?
It has been. We've started out doing a lot of power fishing, and started out fishing mostly in about 5 to 10 feet of water, throwing crankbaits, spinner baits, jerk baits, a little bit of top water. Really couldn't get anything going. Fished a couple of coves, again mostly shallow, couldn't get anything going there. So now what we've done is we've come out to a main lake point here and tried to find a fairly hard bottom, located some rock, located a lot of bait fish, looks like probably mostly perch, but we're sitting in about 16 to 20 feet now, and drop shot seems to work so far. Let's hopefully we can keep it going. But yeah, it's been a tough morning, really overcast conditions, nothing at all like the hot sunny days that we've been having for the last couple of weeks. So it's kind of hard to say what the fish are really going to do today, but right now we're going to focus on the deep water techniques and see if we can get them to go.
All right, we'll get some more.
Good job.
Mm-hmm. Right, and we're actually hang on 1 second.
Got a largemouth for today. It's always a good feeling. Probably about 1.5 pounds, maybe right at 2. Sitting right over here in about maybe 11 feet of water, real tight to structure, right next to that dock. I purposely casted my bait on top of that dock up there and drug it slowly till it fell right off the ledge there, and as soon as it dropped, he was sitting right up under that dock. So it's kind of giving me an indication that these fish may be suspended up under those docks. Could be, we'll see.